Are you experiencing negative sales in 2024 for your Shopify store? Are you wondering why that's happening? Well, I can tell you, I'm still building drop shipping stores for clients. They're getting into the industry, starting their first e-commerce store with actually very little experience with e-commerce and marketing. And that just kind of lays out the market. If you think about it, there's a lot of players that have entered over the last 8 years because drop shipping has been so easy. And if you think about it, that just oversaturates the market, right? So I'm seeing drop shipping stores that are performing poorly in a couple of sectors. In the last 12 months, I would say luxury was hit because you have a lot of options to buy luxury goods. You don't necessarily have to buy it from a third party, especially when we're talking about luxury. You may want to go and buy it just in person to see if the quality is good, to make sure you're not getting a knockoff, because that's a big thing that plagues luxury. Also, there's been a decrease in price of luxury goods. A lot of luxury goods went up in price, and sorry about my sound, it's really loud. So I'm gonna try to see if I can go another way. So these luxury goods, they actually, they went down in price. So a lot of vendors have felt the hurt there. I think there's still some areas of strength. If you look at watches are always pretty good, but the luxury watch segment, the high-end luxury watch segment has went down. So you really need to carefully evaluate what you're doing. So first I'll tell you about who's winning in terms of e-commerce. It's still saturated in a lot of areas like coffee. I would call coffee a staple, okay? I think staple businesses have been doing fine. We've seen a lot of staple businesses come to Zima Media, and they've experienced pretty good growth overall. If you're a staple, and what I mean by a staple is if you put it in your body, on your body, that's a staple. Clothes, food, cosmetics, those are all going to be staples that you really need to hone in on if you're going to be an e-commerce brand. Well, one of the ones that get really difficult is cosmetics. We have a lot of experience with cosmetics, and it's not so easy, right? Your customer, in a lot of cases, knows more about their skincare routine than you can as an e-commerce brand. So it comes down to your expertise, your industry expertise, and how long you've been doing it. So I'm going to talk about a couple other staples. I think coffee is one. We still see people do coffee brands. They're making money, which is pretty awesome. I don't know how, because it's so saturated, but if you get good product, you can market it, do word of mouth marketing, you're really winning. Because at the end of the day, a lot of these saturated markets, they're competing with ads, right? And I think it's pretty risky in some cases for e-commerce to run ads, because brands in like home goods we see that are being cut back on consumers now are just barely breaking even. So evaluate those different touch points. Now, the staples are one thing, but if you're focusing on building a brand and you're just a drop shipper, well, in Europe, we've had Temu for a couple of years. We actually have what I call drop shipping stores. It's like a Family Dollar, but with all the crap you see from drop shippers, but in retail. So not only do you have the Temus of the world, the Amazons of the world, and also these other smaller regional competitors, like we have Teddy here in Europe. We also have AliHop, we have Flying Tiger, and they all have, to some degree, a lot of the same products. There's nothing unique there. Oh man, it is hot. And this is the first time I'm doing a video here, and there's so much construction. Now, you've got the Temus of the world. I just don't know how you're going to make it as a drop shipping business, because they're going to take you out, right? They've already taken you out. So a lot of drop shippers that are failing, from what I understand, are, they start and then they quit. I've had several clients where I build a drop shipping store for them. They start and then they just ghost me. It works out for me, but I honestly don't want to get paid to do homework. So a lot of these drop shipping projects are like homework. So focus on that. But overall, e-commerce is getting more difficult. The e-commerce transaction is getting more difficult because a couple of factors that I laid out, like Temu. But another one is you already have these big retailers that you're working from. They have bigger ad budgets. They're making it more convenient to buy. Amazon has its little AI assistant Rufus, so it can buy more stuff on your credit card. Great, right? So the buying experience is evolving, and Shopify will definitely keep up by offering these innovations and these tools to their partners. So you can keep that in mind. But if your product isn't a staple, if you're not motivated to actually sell, because a part of the success is really your motivation. I would say 80% of success is how passionate and motivated you are about your business. So that comes into play a lot of the times. And if you're keen on that and you've built a couple of businesses, you'll identify really quickly if something's working or not working. And in the e-commerce world, the best teacher is failure. So that's something you can keep an eye on too. E-commerce is also going to be vulnerable to some, seasonality and recession type criteria. It's not as evergreen as services, professional services are right now. But I would keep my, at least, eyes open to the analytics. If you can trust your data, the data isn't as good anymore because really the tracking is getting harder. Cookie consent in the EU, especially in several states in America. It's going to become a national thing in America, probably Canada and Mexico and abroad. Privacy is a good thing, but it's a bad thing for marketing because it's going to make things more expensive. So before these costs catch up with your business, try to think about your products and try to add more products. And don't add too many products, because if you're adding products, you want to make sure you have the budget to support it. And marketing is only one side of it. Advertising is only one side of it. You have to do sales as well. And through sales is how you get feedback, which is important. So make sure you're running sales, you're going through the rhythms of collecting feedback, doing one-on-one with the customers if you can, doing one-on-ones to get reviews if you can, because all of these transactions, you really need to get a lot of value out of these transactions as an e-commerce vendor now. If you're not getting value, you're not getting reviews, a lot of the time these drop shippers, they're just pulling reviews from the marketplaces, which aren't even their reviews, and those reviews might not even be legitimate either, which is why having your own customer list, your first party customer list, your first party reviews and testimonials, that all goes into your brand equity, right? That's your portfolio. You can start building your recognition, your footprint. It makes you sizable, and it also makes you a good partner, because why would anyone want to sell their products on an e-commerce store, high quality products? I'm not talking about dropshipping. I'm talking about the products you want in your store, those unique products, those hero products. And those are all considerations. If you build a brand, ultimately you can put whatever you want in there. And I think that's the one thing a lot of e-commerce stores miss, okay? You register a domain name, you get a website, you get everything, right? You get the logos, whatever. If you have your ecommercestore.com and you give up after 24, 36 months because it's an experiment, it's expensive, and you have to have some sort of tolerance. You have to have a tolerance to failure, and sometimes that tolerance is either external pressures, or the number one factor is just monetary pressure. If you've sunk 10, 50, 100,000 into a project and you don't see a payout there, you really need to pivot and recoup as quickly as possible, because the next investment isn't going to be hopefully as risky, or at least as big of a drain on your profit centers as a failed project, which is why in e-commerce everything is disposable. You want to do it quick, you want to do it fast, and I don't like it, but it has to be dirty in some cases, because you need to be lean, quick, and cheap and efficient. That way you can really control your costs. Now, if you take all of that into consideration, you did build a brand, right? And some people walk away from this, and that's your SEO equity, right? It takes years, right? It takes decades to build a brand in terms of SEO, social followers, the recognition of your brand, the impressions, how many people see your brand. That all adds up, right? People need to see your brand 50, 100 times to really get that recognition, to get that to stick. Right? Not many people still say Zina Media. there's nothing I can do about it. It says it right there. Zima is spelled with an X. I don't know why, but it works out like that. But you're still getting brand recognition, right? So don't abandon your projects in the sense that you'll let the domain name expire, you don't pivot and roll it up into something else. Take your brand seriously, make it evergreen. If you don't know enough about branding, then you can work with a partner that can help you figure that out. There's so much construction going on here, it's pretty wild. So I hope you found this download pretty helpful. Just to recap, staples are big. If you're not a staple, you're gonna get crushed by the Temus of the world, whether they're online or brick and mortar. We're seeing even in the US, because the US is behind in terms of these brick and mortar type, drop shipping type stores, because the Dollar Generals, they're all going out of business because their business models are old, right? And now you're going to have these companies that are going to source directly from China, import into a brick and mortar store, and get that into the hands of more consumers. So those are going to be shifts. That's going to happen in America. I'll do a little undercover video sometime where I'll walk in and I'll show you what these drop shipping stores look like. If you're interested to see that kind of video, let me know in the comments, because I think it'll be worthwhile. And then the one takeaway, the one big idea is you're building a brand and do not walk away from your brand. You're building a brand for the lifetime. You don't need to make a new e-commerce store every time you get a new idea. You just need to make a e-commerce store, and you need to keep watering it. And eventually, when you water it, you're gonna find out if you have tomatoes or if you have roses. Either way, you can make a transaction out of your store, and make sure you stay vigilant and keep up with what the trends are happening. If Amazon has a new AI bot, well, see how customers are responding to that, and maybe you'll need to integrate that yourself.